Hello, my name is Celeste from Black Metal Artists, and today I am here with the people behind the project Ithaca. Hello.
Hey, how's it
Yeah,
going?
nice to be here.
Hello.
Yeah, great to be here.
Now to get started, your guys' project Ithaca formed in 2024, and already released a full-length album in early 2026, so this year. What inspired the creation of the band and how quickly did the, did the vision for Ithaca come together?
Yeah, so I can speak to that. So I'm the guitar player. I go by Sagittarian in the band.
Mhm.
But anyway, I had played in a punk metal band with Sean, the drummer, for uh, it was probably about 20 plus years ago,
Yeah.
25 years ago, maybe
Mhm.
even. And I basically had kids at that time, and I needed to take a breather from that project, so I kind of dropped out of that uh, yeah, around that time, and then kind of took a breather on the guitar for a while. And it was probably about 5 or 6 years ago that Sean and I were like at a barbecue, and we were just talking about, maybe putting something together, and shortly thereafter, I kind of got back into guitar playing, and at that time I kind of got into black metal because I'd always been like a thrash metal guy mainly and death metal, and was kind of getting bored of that, honestly, and then kind of discovered black metal at that time, and I've said it before, but pretty much seduced by it, and I was just like addicted, and I was talking to Sean. I was like, hey, let's get together and I'll lay some tracks down and see what we can do with it. And so we did. And we I wrote a riff, and that became the Wendigo song, which was the first song on the B side of the record, actually.
Yeah.
And then I had posted a few posts on my Instagram. I had met David at the Blood Incantation concert in Boulder, where they debuted the record, the new record with the pyramids on it. I forget the name of it.
Absolute elsewhere.
Absolute
Mhm.
Elsewhere. Absolutely. And so I met David there, and then shortly thereafter, I had kind of posted what I was doing for whatever reason, really. And then he's like, "Hey, do you need vocals on that?" And then David joined the band. We tried him out on a couple, loved it right away. It was
Mhm.
like, and basically kind of changed the direction of the band immediately. And then it became, instead of so whimsical, a more serious endeavor immediately, which was what we wanted anyway.
Right.
And we were just missing a couple elements. And now you know, we've got a record that we've completely recorded, and we had it, you know, professionally mixed and mastered and all this. It's like beyond, like, the wildest dream for us was just having it on vinyl, really. And now we've on Monday. So we've got that done, and we're moving into the next phase, and that's playing live, and
Yeah.
pushing forward with the next stuff tight, and
Yeah.
and and really getting ready to kind of push the record forward with live performance.
It started out just recording only, but then we pushed into,
We bullied
playing
John into agreeing to
pretty
play
much.
us.
Yeah. Yeah, my original thing was like I look at these one man metal
Yeah.
bands, right, and black metal bands, and it's just like release after release after release. You could point it at a lot
Right.
of different artists, Sketaganga, or you could point at Taurus or whatever, and that was the inspiration to, like, my initial thoughts were, yeah, let's just keep pumping albums out, keep pumping releases out and just do it that way. But the direction has changed, and I'm actually really thrilled with it, with what we're doing, and can't wait to play live, actually.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome to hear. Um, Now, I guess obviously with the project name, it definitely brings to mind like obviously like the journey and even like the destination from the Odyssey. Why did you choose that name and how does it reflect the band's philosophy?
That was like an off the cuff text message, I think, about we were running through just like, and I had lived in New York for work, and I thought it was just cool and just spelled it differently. And we looked it up as like our spelling, and we
Yeah,
found a
then
different, whole new meaning to the word actually, just by replacing one letter.
yeah, it
Uh,
actually all worked out. We just
yeah,
changed the spelling and looked it up, and it
yeah,
was like the journey, kind of the
but
journey of life. And yes, there's some references to the Odyssey as well, but like
it's,
just a spiritual journey, is
yeah,
a pilgrimage, if you will, where the destination is known, or I mean, the destination is not known, and the path to get there is also not known.
yeah.
But maybe the current location is known. But other than that, like
It was
that's kind of
cool.
what we thought of it, and we
Yeah,
were just like, yeah, that's
it was
perfect.
cool that it
And
came.
it has a good
Yeah.
ring to it, and all that. So then,
I love that it came out like that. Yeah, it just came out of nowhere. It was like this actually has meaning and stuff.
and
Yeah.
TM you put to an inverted cross, we're like, this is
This is
perfect.
great.
This is what we
Yeah,
need.
it just all kind of clicked in just a weird way. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's awesome though. It kind of fell into place like that.
Yeah.
Um, Now the title, Meditations on the Hubris Man, suggests like a deep philosophical concept. What does that album title mean to you, and what central ideas connect the songs?
That I suppose I could speak to. I wrote all the lyrics except for Jehudi Mace, which was John. But um, from song to song, I didn't have any sort of like overarching theme that I wanted to tie the whole record together. I just went song by song. It was like, what's something that's interesting to me right now? Or for one of them, I just what's it called? I just uh free wrote. Just whatever came to mind, just started, writing without anything in mind whatsoever. But once everything was done, we were talking about what we were going to name the record, and we just kind of like took a broader view of the entire thing, and there's very much a an overarching theme of like you could say the cardinal sins, you know, lust and greed and gluttony and all of that, wrath. Wendigo is very much a story, a Native American story about the dangers of gluttony. Um, Visions of Armageddon is about hubris. And yeah, so that's more or less it. Looking at what themes actually tied song to song together and then coming up with a name based on that. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Now speaking of themes, the themes definitely include like ideas of like history, misanthrope, Satanism and philosophy. How do these subjects, I guess, balance lyrically without losing emotional intensity of the music?
Ask that once more. Sorry.
You're okay. So the themes in the band include history, misanthrope, Satanism, and philosophy. Now, how do you balance these subjects lyrically without losing the emotional intensity of the music?
That's a very good question. I'm not entirely sure I have any intentional way that I did balance them at all.
Mhm.
Um, uh,
Because how we wrote it, we had the music. We
yeah,
record, we tracked everything. Um,
yeah, very much the lyrics were absolutely inspired by the music itself. The songs were finished by the time I took a stab at writing any of the lyrics whatsoever, because that's the most natural way for me to work as a vocalist. Um, but um, I'm not even sure there is a balance to them. I think it's a rather raw sort of amalgamation of the elements and emotion themselves.
I got you. No,
Yeah, I would say that if there was any balance, it's just that the songs are consistently in a style of my writing, and that the vocals were and the lyrics were developed with that in mind. There's a
Yeah.
couple songs that are the Dehudi Mess song is more of a fantasy historical piece, but with a twist on it of it's set in the Egyptian times. But there's a twist to them. It's like a Tomb Raid gone bad. And so that was just an idea that we had, but it doesn't necessarily tie in with the rest of it. But it does tie in with the themes of at the end of it, like just pure terror and just things like that, and the greed involved in the culture at that time. And you know, it wasn't like completely planned out, that's for sure. But the if you look at the other songs that David wrote, the lyrical quality is very high and very well put together, and it's just the way it came out, you know.
Yeah, it's very organic. Like I think how that balances out, even
Yeah.
if it's kind of not balanced, but it's like yeah,
I like that. I definitely
yeah,
like that. As far as like it just being done like raw and organically. Um, Now some of the songs on this album, it draws from like different cultural and mythological sources. Now I guess what attracts you to these themes, and I guess do you do research before writing, and if so, how?
In certain instances, sure. Like Wendigo, for example, is a Native American cryptozoological creature, part of their mythos. I forget the tribes, but the tribes that are more in the north eastern regions of the United States and lower parts of Canada.
Yeah.
That one I definitely did a lot more research on because I wanted to be authentic
Mhm.
to the story of the Wendigo and how it was represented. Like there's a number of moments in that song where I describe physical attributes and whatever, and I wanted to make sure those were accurate.
Mhm.
For example, in a lot of television media, the Wendigo is portrayed as a man with antlers, or even as an elk, like a half elk, half man sort of creature. But that's entirely inaccurate to the portrayals of the Native American myths. And I wanted, to honor that, since that's a long and storied culture that the natives have with that story. And then, for others like Ewiger Wiederkunft, which is a reference to Nietzsche, because that is the original German for the phrase eternal recurrence or eternal return. It could be translated either way. In the song, I went with eternal recurrence because, well, it fit the rhythm of what's going on in the song. But that one I didn't have to research as much for two reasons. One, I was already familiar with the concept. I've read a lot of Nietzsche in my day. I wouldn't call myself a scholar by any stretch of the imagination, but uh, and he also didn't really write a terrible lot about the idea.
Mhm.
It's mostly one passage in Die Fröhliche Wissenschaft, where he talks about the idea of eternal return. And even then, he's not being literal. It's a metaphor. It's more of a sort of like exercise that the individual should do to gauge how their life is going. You know, the short version of it is a demon comes to you and says that your life as you lived it will repeat forever in eternity, exactly as you lived it, so shall you live it again. Would you weep at the feet of this demon in thanks, or would you gnash your teeth at him and scream bitter curses at him because your life is so horrible? Um, and you know, for most of my lyric writing, I try to package it in sort of a story. So that one is very much from the perspective of a man who would be the latter, who would curse the demon for telling him this fate. You know, it opens with him, he's about to hang himself, you know. And then, ties into, it calls cosmological theory of the universe, which is, there was the Big Bang and then universe expands and then there will be the big crunch. Uh, I'm by no means a cosmologist or a physicist or anything, but uh, whether that theory has been disproven or expounded upon, I could not begin to say, but it's at least an interesting sort of thought exercise, I suppose. Um, so yeah, how much research is involved depends on the subject matter. And I obviously didn't write the Jehudi Mace, so I had to do no research there except on how to pronounce the name. But yeah, and then the rest is more or less just is pulled out of my head with no research whatsoever.
Great, yeah. I like that you do like that mixture and stuff. And I like that you kind of like added on to it, especially did like accurate research on certain stuff. So
Like,
you're welcome. Now speaking, I guess you briefly talked about some sort like I guess parts of the album as far as like structure goes. Um, and there's definitely like kind of a structured, almost cinematic flow, especially with the album opening. And especially with the interlude in it. Was the album intentionally designed to, I guess, have that experience of beginning to end, or was that more organic?
Well, the interlude was a piece that I had it like under my arm for quite a while, and I thought it was something that could be put in there in the middle somewhere,
Yeah.
and so that was always there.
We
Uh,
were thinking about the vinyl too, and like
yeah, so that
so the
it developed with
side.
where we were
Yeah,
going to land that
right.
and whatnot. Of course, the organ piece was incorporated uh, on the first song in the record, and that song was written completely in its entirety, and then David had an idea um, to lay an organ piece on top of the beginning of that song, and because it starts very very sharp, and then it just goes for about four measures or so, and it's just I guess three measures, right? We should know this. But
I don't
but
even know.
but anyway, so that changed the dynamic of that song immensely and made it much more
Yeah.
interesting. And then I think David was saying, "Hey, I'd like to expound on that and write a prelude piece that's done in Bach, which I'm sure he can speak to in better terms than I can." But that's essentially how that went.
Mm.
And so that prelude piece, prelude in Prelude to Blood in D minor, leads into Night of the Blood perfectly. So it stops and there's just a little pause and it goes right into the same um, themed organ type thing, and it butts up really nicely together. And I think David could probably expound on some of the creation of that
Yeah.
prelude song because it is
Sure.
amazing in my
It
view.
made sense for the first song. Like it just, yeah, we had to do it. Yeah.
yeah, no, I was looking at the album as it was written and how like what it was set to be before the prelude was written. Like we knew that Night of the Blood was going to be the first song, and it starts just so abruptly, like a hammer. And I thought it was for like the first thing that the needle hits on the wax. I thought it was too abrupt. And I'd already written the organ theme on that piece for that intro, and so like I have classical experience.
Hmm.
Went to music school and everything. Took a year of counterpoint, and I brushed that off and offered to write a prelude more or less in the style of Bach. Whether I got there or not would I'm sure my professors would disagree, but uh, authentic enough to like a Baroque style. But regardless, the theme was already there. It's that opening line in the pipe organ that's in Night of the Blood. Da 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 da. And that was I just had it in my head how to expound on that into a sort of prelude that worked with the same material, so that it would have a nice sort of flow or connection into uh, the opening proper song, and give the album a little cushion to grow into itself as it progresses.
Yeah. That,
Yeah, the
I-
Wendigo on the second side, I think made a lot of sense just because it was kind of written also to kind of have this like, upfront part, that was kind of dramatic and,
Yeah, it was originally going to be this first song on the whole thing,
yeah,
up to a point,
right,
and
right.
then it became
So it
the
starts out with the
opening track
snow.
on the B side, and so yeah, we decided to put in a snowstorm,
Yeah.
which was an idea that we came up with.
The right move.
Yeah.
And then it was let's put some footsteps of somebody walking through the snow,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and just lost in the forest.
Yeah.
Um, and that's how that song opens up, and then proceeds into a nightmare
Yeah.
and ends with people getting devoured at the end. Where it kind of repeats what the beginning of the song is, or repeats at the end, and that's how we start the B side.
Yeah. So we
I
kind
think
of
a lot of the songs have kind of like almost like a almost traditional heavy metal little vibe to them. I've been told sometimes that it's black and roll. I've heard that term thrown at it, which I actually agree with. I don't really know if that's the direction of the band moving forward. I think it's kind of just what this record was, where I was at with my writing when I, first got started with all my influences of basically thrash metal, punk metal, and death metal, and being somewhat of a I don't know if it's a newbie would be the right thing, but just like that influence was coming into play as I was writing this, although I would still consider it a black metal record for sure, and that's
Absolutely.
definitely the direction it's going. But it does have some of those influences, those interludes, and
yeah.
Wendigo is another great example of that, where there's a part in there that is just kind of jamming,
Yeah.
and it just that happens in a lot of the songs on this particular record.
Yeah, I think with those two songs and then the everything else in between, it does become this like theatrical kind of whole piece. And so it just really fit well. And then beginning to end, it just flows. And that's what we were kind of going for.
Awesome. I
Yeah.
like that response a lot. I especially enjoy like I guess the breakdown almost of each of them. It's really interesting to hear as that thought process. Um, Now I guess moving on more as far as like locality wise, I guess how has being based where you guys are in Denver, influenced your sound or identity at all?
Very little.
Probably.
We listen to music from around the world and
Yeah.
a wide range of influence.
Yeah.
I think all three of us listen to a wide variety of music outside of metal in general. I think that I would say that David and I listen to a lot of black metal, and but it's even within that genre, it's a wide range of things that we're interested in, from the founding fathers of black metal, being like Dark Throne Emperor, Burzum, all the way through some of the new raw stuff, the one-man metal bands that have been a huge influence on us. But then we're also pulling from other genres entirely to kind of put our own stamp on it, put our own, I really don't try to write anything to like sound like um, anyone but myself. You know, if I was to get influenced by a riff, it's going to be just like 3 or 4 notes, and then I just build the whole thing to where you wouldn't even know what it is. But for the most part, on this record, there is none of that. It was completely my own stuff, and it's just whatever I think is good. That's what it's gonna be.
I kind of want the influence to go the other way, actually. I think Denver needs more black metal.
100 fucking percent.
So
We've had no real black metal other
we
than
need like
Stormkeep for years.
And I think that, yep. And I think just adding to that and building a community around that would be great. So definitely would love to see that influence. But like John saying, like as far as here, you don't. It's not where you look for it right now, at least.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
There's very few. Stormkeep is the band that I point to as the one. I guess Ockley's is sort of from here, but I don't think he really is a Colorado person so much to say as he just happens to have a house here in the mountains. But other than that,
the only other bands we have here is Obnixilis and Bell Tower, and obviously Stormkeep. But for black metal, that's it.
Yeah,
and us, that's it.
Yeah.
It's not like it was 7 years ago when we were replete with black metal bands and then they all just dissolved into thin air.
Yeah.
That's interesting to hear, because there's another person I interviewed that had the same thing happen, where there was a whole bunch, but then for some reason they're just gone. So yeah, I definitely hope that you guys can, I guess, rebuild it in a way and add more to it, especially from what you're saying.
That is the goal.
Absolutely.
it's an exciting place to be, really. I think there's a lot of opportunity to push this forward in this area. But really, we're hoping for it to catch on a more of at least a national level, if not international level. Really, we really think that the record has the potential to do well. Most people that have actually taken the time to listen to it do like it and do have positive things to say. I think most of any negative criticism has been probably someone who brushed across it real quick and said, "Oh, this doesn't quite fit black metal genre to the nth degree," and I'm not even going to try, because I mean it's such a super saturated genre. When you have 4 or 5 new YouTube videos that come out on a daily basis, it's hard to know which way to go or what to spend your time on, and so you kind of feel like, oh, I'm just going to take a quick listen to this thing, and if it hits me, I'll keep going. And and when this thing comes in with a little bit different tone to it, different style, different thing going on, it can be easy to dismiss it really quick. I mean, like I said, there's some black and roll to it. There's an organ prelude. I mean, just right from the beginning, there's things about this that are different than anything you've ever heard. But if you take the time to listen to it from start to finish, most of the feedback that we've gotten has been overwhelmingly positive. And so hopefully we get a break with it, and it just keeps going in the right direction.
Yeah, can't wait to play it live for sure.
That's gonna go.
It's gonna be good.
That's awesome. Well, I definitely like that positivity in that regard. Now, as an independent band, what have been the biggest challenges and advantages of creating and releasing this album without a label?
Oh God. So it's a list.
Yeah, I can probably speak to that the best. So finding the roadmap, the sequence of operations, if you will, on how to go about doing it was the thing that we had to learn the most. And I think we probably have a good idea how we'll do the second record going forward. The first one, we were a little bit unsure as to what our sequence should be. And I really think now, we tried to get on some various YouTube channels and got a lot of no's actually. And it's because of the black and roll influence predominantly. I think it was just like the certain channels that we were going to, they were just like, not necessarily our exact vibe that we want for this particular channel. But then the next question is like, so do you want to get it onto the channel first, or do you want to get it on with a label first, or what, which one's first? And I think a lot of labels wanted to come to them first, and then they do all of it. They broadcast it all to the YouTube channel to make it producing the actual physical copies of the record. And I think that's predominantly what it needs to be. But in this case, we ended up going down a road, and we were patient for a few months, and then we decided, screw it, we're going to just do it ourselves. We're going to accomplish what we want to do, and probably be the in true black metal form, just we're going to push it forward ourselves and do it alone. And that's kind of what we've decided to do, and think that's the best way to go at this time in our on our journey, And so then, I do a lot of record collecting and stuff, and so I know Yasuke from NWN and Helios, and then I started asking him about, can we do it through you guys? Can we do it through Helios Press? What's your advice? And he started telling me what to do and what it would look like if we did it through Helios Press. And and then I was like, well, if you're not going to produce the record, can we distribute it at least through you as a private? And he said, absolutely. And I think what he told me was he wanted to produce more old classic records. That's what he wanted to get behind as a company, as from an NWN standpoint, and just, repress old classic albums. And that's what he's doing if you look at a lot of the stuff.
Yeah, I
But it
know who
was
that
really
is.
nice to hear him offer up, distributing this record for us. And we're really excited I mean, it's only like a couple weeks out or so, I would think, until it's going to be actively listed on his site, as well as our Bandcamp and at shows and stuff like that. So that's kind of how that all went together.
Nice. It sounds like it went in a good direction, even with some of those challenges you guys had at first, for sure. Now kind of as a final question here, with your debut album and stuff like that, I guess what can listeners expect next from you guys? I know you guys briefly mentioned your live show, but as far as like, are you guys gonna like expand on the concepts introduced in this album? Like, I'm just curious.
The concepts, well, we'll see. We will see.
Mhm.
I can tell you that much of the next record has been written as far as the riffs go.
Mhm.
And from what I've heard of them, the things that come to my mind as to what they'll be about. I wouldn't expect any thematic continuity. Uh, the next record is definitely on its way to sounding much more cold, much more occult, much more orthodox black metal than this debut has been.
Mhm.
Um, and so yeah, for that, I imagine that's what we can expect for the next record thematically is something different. Probably still a little Satan, uh, probably still a little philosophy, but we'll see how the music speaks to my mind as they flesh themselves out. And then yeah, we've got the live show in about 2 months. We're debuting at there's a horror and metal bar in Denver called The Crypt. So we'll be playing June 21st with Roak, a local crust punk band, and Mournful Ruin, a Death Doom band, and then the headliner is another Death Doom band called Dispossessed from Portland, who will be here on tour.
Okay, awesome. Well, with that being said, thank you so much, guys. It's been very nice talking with you.
Thank you.
And I
Yeah,
definitely
thank
wish you
Thanks for
the,
having us.
thank you. I wish you the best of luck in your future endeavors.
Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Hails.
Forward to it.